Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Give me a one in the chat if you can hear me, hopefully. We have some breaking news about the official Strongman Games, the official Strongman competition. They have responded to the huge backlash that they received after a man, was crowned the world's strongest woman. A man was crowned the world's strongest woman. And this is a legitimate competition that's been going on for a long time, I believe. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger is linked to the whole competition. And yes, these athletes work extremely hard. This is obviously based on strength. So it's quite important that everybody competes in the correct category. And the person who, quote unquote, won, thank you, you can hear me, great. This person, I believe, only recently began identifying as a woman. And allegedly, this person is an adult film actor. And yeah, I think it was a couple of days ago, Jamie Booker was crowned the world's strongest woman. And the actual real woman who came second, Andrea Thompson, she was obviously pissed, extremely disgusted, and she just walked off the stage before the medal ceremony had concluded. So we've got that. It's a, it basically sums up how we all feel about this ridiculous situation. So let me look for the video here where she walks off. I believe this is it. Oh no, wait a minute. Let me remove this from the stage. I'll get to that in a minute. I just want to show you her walking off just visibly. Oh, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me now? Oh dear. Oh, let me read that again then. Piers Morgan. Okay. Piers Morgan said, many congratulations to Jamie Booker, who has won the world's strongest woman competition in Arlington, Texas. The fact Jamie is a biological male with a massive physical advantage over the actual women competing shouldn't distract from the well-earned victory. Obviously being sarcastic there. And then we have, okay, great. Then we have April responding, as we know, she competed against, she had a man in her powerlifting competition. She said, "You can't say biological male peers. Remember, I got suspended by my powerlifting federation for calling out a man competing in the women's category. The words biological male were considered hate speech, and it was my interview on your show. This is how absurd and out of control this is getting. By the way, there are only men. Just call Jamie a man." Oh, thank you for joining the membership, Sam R. So obviously a lot of people responding. The South Park meme has officially and accurately been recreated. Just brilliant. So remember, I'm going to read the statement by Strongman official. They're basically saying that they didn't know. That's what they're saying. That's what it appears. So I'm going to go through the statement. Jamie Booker, winner of the world's strongest woman competition, a man. We live in a South Park episode. I mean, it's even the photos and the cartoon is like very similar in terms of the situation we're dealing with here. Absolutely ridiculous. This is infuriating. Get all biological males out of all female sports and take all titles back from all males who have taken them from females. Absolutely. Totally agree with you there, Jean. So here's their official statement. So as you can imagine, now Andrea, she was in the lead throughout the whole competition. She was first place, but it was just on the last event that she fell back. And, she came 7th in the last event. But even with that, she would have won. If you look at her points, she is well ahead. Let's share this with you guys. If you look at her points, she is well ahead of the competition. A clear, well-deserved victory for Andrea. But a man ended up stealing the title from her, stealing the moment from her, a moment that she can never get back. And that's what's really sad about this. This is a moment that she can never get back. Hopefully, Strongman will rectify the situation, at least in terms of who officially owns the title. But this is what we're dealing with here. So she got 46 points. And look at the second strongest female was on 39 points. So she is well ahead. And then some dude comes along and swipes it at the last minute. I like how this writer says that Jamie is an alleged transsexual athlete. No, this is clearly a man. It's official. We know. We can look at the person. And this is what female athletes are continuing to be subjected to. So let's read their official statement. We wanted to provide an update on what is happening following the official Strongman. Wait a minute, let me get a better. Strongman Games World Championships 2025, which were held in Arlington, Texas over the weekend. It appears that an athlete who is biologically male and who now identifies as female competed in the women's open category. Official Strongman officials were unaware of this fact ahead of the competition, and we have been urgently investigating since being informed. An attempt has been made to contact the competitor involved, but a response has not been received. I wonder why. Had we been aware, or had this been declared at any point before or during the competition, this athlete would not have been permitted to compete in the world's open category. Sorry, in the women's open category. We are clear competitors can only compete in the category for the biological sex recorded at birth. Wow. Thank goodness for that. Hi, Redux. Yes, this is fantastic news. And then we are clear competitor. Oh, I read that already. Official Strongman is inclusive and proud to run events which do not discriminate against athletes based on personal characteristics. Any athlete is welcome, but it is our responsibility to ensure fairness and ensure athletes are assigned to men or women's categories based on whether they are recorded as male or female at birth. Given this, we have disqualified the athlete in question from the official Strongman World Championships 2025. All athlete points and places will be altered accordingly to ensure that the rightful places are allocated to each of the women's open athletes. Wow. The official Strongman World Championships is an event which is rightly one of the pinnacles of the strength world. We are disappointed on behalf of all those who fairly and legitimately took part that the attention has been taken away from their efforts, which deserve celebration, no matter how they performed or where they finished. We stand with them and stand with fairness. Wonderful, wonderful news. Wow. That can't be any clearer. They are not for this. They are not for men competing in their competitions. Thank goodness, official Strongman is not a woke organization that allows such nonsense. So, they're saying they didn't know. Some people may question that. But clearly, the most important thing is that they are addressing it straight away. They are rectifying it. It's one thing to say, we're not for this, but it's another thing to actually strip these men of their illegitimate accolades and titles and to put things right. That was Andrea's moment, though, and that was taken from her. But thankfully, she has been recognized officially as the rightful winner. Yep, absolutely great news. Oh no, that wasn't Reduxing. That was that was on X. I thought I was in the chat. So glad this BS is now being dealt with quickly. Trans women are men and being in men's and belong in men's sports. Exactly. Exactly. Yep. He only won by 1 point. There were a bunch of trannies on X saying that Jamie didn't have an advantage and Andrea almost won. Wow, yeah. They look at the it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. Even if he had come last, he does not belong in a women's strongman competition or strongman competition. Obviously, this is the women's category. He doesn't belong in the women's category. It's as simple as that. And I don't care how bad of an athlete this person is. Clearly, this person is a mediocre athlete, putting it mildly. And if you have XY chromosomes, that's it. You compete against the men or an open category that's open in terms of biological sex. That's it. This is a women's open category, strictly for females. And thankfully, Strongman has recognized that. Calling all mediocre males women's medals, records, scholarships, sponsorships are now up for grabs. Live your dream. This is what we're dealing with. And we saw this unfold before our very eyes with this latest competition. So that's great news for Andrea, at least. But unfortunately, this was allowed to happen because it's another great reason why we need to introduce the genetic tests, chromosomal testing, because these organizers, they're claiming they didn't know that this person recently started identifying as a woman. And this is what we have to deal with. Clearly, it's obvious that this person, is a dude. Clearly. But the best way to safeguard and protect the women's competition is to ensure that they introduce chromosomal testing for every competitor who wants to compete, who wants to be eligible to compete in the women's category. No decent man would even think to enter a world's strongest woman competition, let alone celebrate winning it. He's celebrating like the guy in South Park. Oh, thank you so much, the Book of the Dark, for the $2 super sticker. Thank you for that. And that's exactly it. Whereas these people are called vulnerable, stunning and brave, living their truth. They refer to people like this with all of those lovely compliments. But the fact is, no decent man would enter a strongest woman's competition. They just wouldn't. And then stand there all smug, knowing full well that the women are not happy about it as well. The official photo that came out, I thought was very telling. I'm not sure how to make this bigger, but if you look at Andrea's face, she is not happy, clearly. And it's very sad that this is even something that female athletes are still going through. But let's focus on the good news. Official strongman have spoken, and they are basically saying that they're going to readjust the points and make sure that Andrea is acknowledged as the rightful winner. And it's true what they're saying here. We are disappointed on behalf of those who fairly and legitimately took part, that the attention has been taken away from their efforts, not just Andrea's efforts, but all the women who competed in that competition. This man has taken away attention from all of their efforts. And obviously, women's sports doesn't get, the most publicity compared to the men's as it is. And now we have literally having men coming in there and taking away their shine from the shine that they have to compete for, at best, on a good day, they might get a bit more, just as much attention as the men's competition. But they have to fight for that. And they've been fighting for that for the longest time, female athletes. And now we have men coming in there and taking away medals and records, all sorts of accolades. Yep, he's been disqualified. He's been disqualified, as he should. Well done to the Strongman organization for addressing this promptly. They really did. I was planning the live stream, and this came in while I was about to come on air. And I was like, wow, really, really great news. Yep. So I'm happy for Andrea. On her Instagram, she's sharing, people acknowledging her as the rightful winner. We just have a quick, see if she's responded to the news. I'll be interested to see if she's responded. Yep, congratulations to Andrea Thompson. Strong woman. The true champ. Oh, I'll answer questions. I'm sure there's going to be a lot on this. Doesn't look like she's responded to the news. Huge congratulations to my friend. World's strongest woman, Andrea Thompson. Well deserved, absolutely. These are the images we should have been seeing. Not that monstrosity that befell before our eyes. This dude on, the first place on the podium, just towering over the women. Absolutely ridiculous. So well done, Andrea. Yeah, thanks, Irene. Good on them for taking up the issue and getting the she-man disqualified. So I'm very, very happy to hear this. Thank you to the strongman competition. Yeah, they did act reasonably quickly. And it's a shame that this guy basically slipped through the net. That's what happened. And it's a real shame that this is still happening. But when we know, I guess it's important that these organizations address it promptly, and we can be thankful for that. So looking at her record, it is, clearly outstanding within the competition, very well deserved. And to think that somebody competing in the incorrect category just came and swiped it from her under her feet, must have been hugely disappointing and devastating for Andrea, as you can imagine. You can laugh in his embarrassment now. It's really embarrassing. Like, how can you hold your head up high as a man, even if you identify as a woman, whatever, and give yourself a pat on the back? Give yourself a pat on the back for stealing a competition from a female athlete. How could you, in all good conscience, go, how do you sleep at night knowing that you are competing in the incorrect competition? You are a cheater, and you were given an accolade that you do not deserve. If you were competing against men, nobody would know your name, nobody would care. And he probably wouldn't have even qualified for the competition to begin with. But you go over into the women's and you stand on the podium celebrating, literally like the guy in South Park. I think I have that here.
I'm a strong woman! Look at it! It's mine! I'm the best!
That's literally what he was doing. That's why Andrea looked up at him and just walked off and thought, she said, can we go now? This is BS, something to that effect, and then walked off. Because who wants to, you've worked so hard, and this is the foolishness you have to deal with.
I'm a strong woman! Look at it! It's mine! I'm the best!
And why would any female athlete celebrate this? Celebrating her own downfall? Because, I'm sure there will be people like Megan Rapinoe, who recently commented on trans athletes and was saying, I don't know what she was saying, but she was basically, again, coming out in support of trans athletes. Easy for you to do now that you're not competing and you never had to compete against a man, Megan. Women like that, how do you celebrate the downfall of women's sports, women's competitions? How do you celebrate that as a woman yourself? It makes no sense. Oh, why can't I see that? So, yeah. Would Irene be willing to confront some trans-identified men on their call-in show? Do they have call-in shows? I mean, I don't really have a problem with that, calling into one of the shows, if they are genuinely welcoming dissenting views. If they're not going to gaslight and try and label me as something. Yeah. Although I'm sure people would not advise women to do that in general, because there's a lot of, as such, people can be very disingenuous when you're talking to them about these issues. Someone told me I shouldn't refer to myself as an adult human female, that it's weird. Like, no, what's weird is a man calling himself a woman. That's what's weird. I also refer to myself as XX as well. How do you like that? They can't handle the fact that science isn't on their side. Common sense isn't on their side. And morality isn't on their side because, again, this is wrong. You cannot go on a competition with women just by saying that you're a woman and claim that you are competing fairly and legitimately. claim that you work just as hard as the female athletes when you have an advantage, just for the way you are built. You have an advantage over the females. Just like a heavyweight boxer competing in a lightweight division would be called a cheater. It's no different. And everybody knows this. That's what's so crazy about it. Everybody knows that this is wrong. It's just that more people are not afraid to say that now. That's the only difference. Another sad thing is that Andrea had already decided this was going to be her last strong woman. Oh, can't believe he robbed her of a crowning moment to end as champion. Yeah, that's really, really sad to hear. But thankfully, it has been restored to her. But again, this is how it ended for her. And it was so unnecessary. There was no need for this. No need for this guy, to be competing in a women's competition in the first place. That would be that would be a disaster. Me calling into one of those shows, you mean? Probably. I'm tired of men who can't compete in the men's category being allowed to steal women's opportunities. Yeah. Even after Trump's executive order, all of that, sporting bodies now turning around and saying that, no, we're not going to allow it anymore. We're still seeing it. We're still seeing it. Even in a strong, the strongman competition, we're still seeing, or strong woman, the fact that we even saw that happen is just ridiculous. But again, at least we can end on good news. Thank you for joining the live stream. I think we'll wrap this up soon. I just wanted to end with these young ladies talking about their experiences of having to compete against boys, having boys in their locker rooms, and it's really heartbreaking. And their story deserves to be heard. So let's have a listen to this before we wrap up the live stream. And thank you for everyone who has joined today.
Podium in first place.
Last February, when I was 15 years old, there was an...
Let me start from the beginning. Okay, I'm going to have to mute myself, but hopefully I'll remember to...
My name is Annalie Wilson. I am a sophomore at Eastmont High School.
My name is Frances Stout.
I had no idea I'd be racing against a boy. I didn't realize it until after the race, when he stood on the podium in first place.
Last February, when I was 15 years old, there was an 18-year-old man in my locker room.
I've also been told that by speaking up, I would be responsible if that transgender athlete decided to take their life. Do you know what it's like to carry that weight at 16 years old?
I was called horrible names that I won't repeat. I was told I was going to hell, had people threatening to show up at my house, and had lost many so-called friends.
As female athletes, we feel like our hands are tied and our voices are ignored. We feel like we do not matter at all. Our fairness and safety are being dismissed by adults who are supposed to protect us.
Imagine being a 15-year-old girl going to school each day, knowing these people who are supposed to be there for me were not only not there for me, but were publicly coming out against me.
We matter too. We have voices and we have stories, and we deserve protection in our locker rooms, in our sports, and in the opportunities that we have worked so hard for.
The truth is, biological men have an advantage over women. They're stealing trophies from the women who have dedicated their lives to earning them.
Today I want to speak directly to Governor Bob Ferguson, Superintendent Chris Reichdahl, and the WIAA.
Chris Reichdahl, a grown man who is so threatened by the truth, he literally looks the people of Washington in the face to tell them there are more than two genders and that this is not even an issue, as it affects such a small percentage of students. What about me, Chris Reichdahl? It has affected me.
I again invite Governor Bob Ferguson and Superintendent Chris Reichdahl to sit down with me and hear my story. Hear the stories of girls in Washington. Talk to me face to face about what we're going through and how we feel about it.
Governor Ferguson, Chris Reichdahl, and Nick Brown, we see right through you. And what we see is gutless men trying to stifle the voices of young women. I may be 16 years old, but I have way more guts than you'll ever have.
Doing what is right isn't always easy, and it isn't always popular. But if I can stand here at 16 years old and take these hits, the insults, and the threats, then the leaders of the state can also find the courage to do what's right.
I'm encouraging you all to sign the initiative, which will protect fairness in girls' sports. I'd like to thank my friends at Let's Go Washington who are doing great work in trying to get this initiative passed. I also want to thank Brandy Cruz, as well as Fox News, Glenn Beck, Jen Say with XXXY Athletics, and Family Policy Institute of Washington, as well as other media outlets who have been able to be an advocate for the truth and given me platforms to do so on multiple occasions.
In closing, I'm asking every eligible voter, please sign this initiative. It is so important to me and so many other people. I can't sign it because I'm only 16, but you can. You have the power to protect fairness. You have the power to protect girls' safety. You have the power to show us that we matter too. Your signature, just as in ink, is a message to every female athlete in Washington that we are worth protecting, that our dreams matter, our voices matter, and our opportunities matter. Thank you.
Wow. There's a reason I haven't been doing live streams, because I see something like that and I can't guarantee I won't cry on camera. That's absolutely heartbreaking. She said, I'm not even old enough to sign this. I'm not even old enough to sign this. But yet, she's had to deal with just the gross misconduct of allowing boys into her locker room, allowing boys into her sports. She's had to deal with that at such a young age, knowing that no matter how hard you work as a female athlete, you're going to have to, be put in you may be put in a position where you compete against a male athlete and there's nothing you can do about it. You can train your hardest, you can give it your all, you can get a personal best, but more than likely that male athlete is going to excel and be ahead of you regardless, and take away what rightfully belongs to girls, to women, to female athletes. At such a young age, this is what they have to deal with. They shouldn't even be dealing with having to appeal to Congress and appeal to their senators and all of that. And again, these are the states, these blue states, they will claim to be champions for women. They don't believe in, they believe in women's rights. They don't believe in allowing women to be oppressed or whatever. They'll talk about equal pay and reproductive rights, as they put it. They'll talk about that all day. And then turn around at the same time and tell these girls that they have no right to speak up and say that I don't want to compete against a man. I don't want to compete against, a boy. I don't want a boy in my locker room. But turn around and tell them they have no right to say that. The young lady said she was told she's going to hell. She was told she's a bad person. She's responsible for whether somebody wants to take their life. Notice how they never, I'm just making sure I'm not muted. Notice how they never talk about the mental toll it takes on these girls. They never talk about that. What can it drive these girls to dealing with this, dealing with the bullying, dealing with the pressure, the harassment just for objecting? They don't talk about how that can impact the mental health of these young girls. Being told that their voice doesn't matter because the boy who wants to compete in the wrong category, who wants to come into their locker room, his feelings matter more. And their actual rights don't matter, apparently. Absolutely devastating to hear such things are allowed, and these young girls are left unprotected. I admire these girls for standing up for themselves and all other girls, absolutely. So yeah, I'm glad that these girls are speaking up. And as you can see, it's happening across the board. Women of all ages are dealing with this. And for what? So somebody can convince themselves that they're a woman, or somebody can achieve what they were unable to achieve competing fairly. There's nothing wrong with being a mediocre athlete. There's nothing wrong with being a mediocre athlete. As long as you're able to participate in sports, get the benefits from it. Other people have to accept when they don't achieve their goals in sports. Everyone else has to accept that. I didn't make it to the Olympics when I competed in sports. We don't all make it to the Olympics. We don't all win state championships. But competing in sports was one of the best things that I was ever exposed to as a young girl, being able to compete in sports. That was one of the, best decisions that was made by my parents, my school, encouraging me to compete. And, I didn't get all gold medals or anything like that, but I was happy with my achievements and I was happy that I was able to compete. You don't then go and compete in the incorrect category. I didn't compete with the elementary school kids and give myself a pat on the back. We all have to compete in the correct category. I don't know why that's so hard for people to understand. Yeah, these men have no respect for women. Absolutely, Wendy. Yet they will claim to be a woman. But you don't have any respect for women. All they care about is what is their wants and desires. If they had any respect for women, they would turn around and walk out of the bathroom. It's as simple as that. They would compete in the correct category, regardless of how you claim to identify. They want to erase women. That's what's happening. When we look up records, when we look up records for Pennsylvania University, for example, we see a man's name there. Or an asterisk now because, okay, they've acknowledged that they were wrong, but Leah Thomas's name is still there. When we look up various records, in Canada, for example, April Hutchinson, she's spoken about how all the records are owned by men in the powerlifting. It's ridiculous. And that is literally erasing women and our achievements and our accolades. So I'm glad everybody, more and more women are speaking out now, including these girls like the ones we just saw there. So I'll end on a...
I'm a strong woman! Look at it! It's time!
My name is Annalie Wilson.
Now, what happened?
I'm the best! I'm a strong woman! Look at it! It's time! I'm the best!
Absolutely ridiculous. That was something that we saw play out in real life. So just to close, we have good news from official Strongman. They are saying they didn't know this person slipped through the net and they are doing their best to make it right. So that's what's important. Given this, we have disqualified the athlete in question from the official Strongman World Championships 2025. So Jamie Booker is officially disqualified. Jamie Booker is not a winner. This was somebody who decided to cheat and swipe a championship right under a deserving female athlete's feet. But thankfully, this organization are taking action. All athlete points and places will be altered accordingly to ensure that the rightful places are allocated to each of the women's open athletes. So Andrea's going to receive her rightful championship. The other female athletes who came second, third. Let's see. Yep, they are going to be rightfully acknowledged. Ulira Joy Cowley, Jackie, I'm not going to attempt that. Jackie Odzewski, perhaps. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. And then every woman who competed in that competition, she's going to get her acknowledgement, because this Jamie person should never have been in that category to begin with. So at least we can end on a good note, on a more positive note, because I was ready to go in on all of this craziness. Oh, let me see. Sorry, guys. Those are the female competitors that we're seeing here. So they're going to get the acknowledgement that they deserve. So I thought that was showing earlier. So all of them were affected. All of them were affected by a male athlete competing in their category. Not only the winner, every female athlete. And if you think about the female athletes who didn't make the top 10, for example, I believe it was 10 of the greatest strong women battled across 6 events. So the woman who didn't make the top 10 because a man took a spot, that's absolutely appalling. Those women were affected too. And that's what happens when we allow this. Yep. Yeah, that's crazy. I agree that it's just best to stick to male and female, man and woman. It's as simple as that. All this terminology is just... All right, so I think we'll end it there. Thankfully, we can end it on a positive note. And, you know, all my best to Andrea and all the other female competitors. You deserve the recognition, obviously. And I'm glad that, you know, you guys are actually receiving it from Strongman Official. So well done to all the female competitors. And yeah, I guess they're going to have to really implement this genetic testing, aren't they? Because we can't allow this to happen again. No males in women's competitions. So thanks for joining me for the live, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for all of the comments and the super stickers. Yep. Andrea, the real winner. Absolutely. Number 1, Andrea. Yep. And she went out. That was her last competition. She went out with a bang because the points that she won it by, clearly ahead of the rest. And I'm sure she could keep going if she wants to next year and the year after that. But, you know, she deserves to go out on top. And, you know, that guy tried to take it from her, but thankfully he didn't succeed. So take care, guys. Have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.